So welcome to another Somerset Player podcast, and for today's special guest we've travelled up to Northampton, and of course we're talking to no other than Mr. Roy Virgin, who was breaking the records and hitting thousands of runs for Somerset back in the 50s and 60s before he then came up and joined Northants to finish his career. But here we are today, sat at Wantage Road talking to Roy Virgin. Lovely to be here, Roy.
Nice to see you, Richard. Long time.
Long time indeed. But you are a Somerset boy, aren't you? You're a Taunton boy.
I'm a Taunton-born boy, and my wife, Anne, she's a Taunton-born girl. And I still got the accent to a degree, I think.
You haven't lost it.
No.
So where were you actually born in Taunton?
I was born in King Street, which was, they say, a cricket ball's throw from the ground. It's long been demolished now, right. But it was somewhere near the fire station.
Okay.
Just up that way somewhere.
Okay. And how did you start to get into cricket in the first place?
Well, I always liked sport, and in summer it was cricket, hitting a ball around. But the first real cricket that I saw, my dad took us to watch the 48 Australians at Taunton. Yeah. And what would I be, about 8 or 9 years old? And I remember we queued over the bridge. We were queuing there. We went at 8:30 in the morning. Right. That was the queue. It was unbelievable. Absolutely. And it was a lovely day. Unfortunately, Bradman didn't play. So Hassett, I think, Lindsay Hassett was captain. And we got a wicket. Somerset got a wicket in the first over. Sid Brown ran out 0, and it erupted the ground. But close of play, I think it was 550 for 4.
That sounds about like Somerset, doesn't it?
It sounds like the 48 Australians.
Absolutely. But I mean, those memories stick with you, don't they? I mean,
I'm very lucky. I do remember lots of things about when I was playing, and some of the balls that got me out, I can still remember.
I bet you can.
And can't get over it.
No, absolutely. Well, it's been your life, really, isn't it, cricket?
Well, it has. I mean, I was involved. I've been involved up here. On the committee, cricket chairman, and they've made me a honorary life member. So the chairman very kindly said we can come anytime, and sit in this room and use the facilities. So it's fantastic.
It is. How do you actually physically start playing cricket?
Well, my brother, who was 2 years older than me, Brian, he was a fast bowler, and he always liked playing cricket, and my dad was very keen, and he ran the British Railways side at Taunton. Yeah. I'm not sure that he played much himself. I can't ever remember him playing, but he ran the team, and I used to be 13th man, and if they were really short, I'd have to get onto the field. And Brian and I, in the summer holidays, we had a set of stumps and a bat and a ball, and we used to go down Hamilton Road playing field every single day, and with just the two of us. So you can imagine, you were running up to bowl. If he nicked it, you had to run and field it. But it obviously did me a lot of good. Absolutely.
Yeah, and you were a batsman, wicket keeper in those days?
I did keep wicket, yes, and I was competent, probably a little bit better than competent stood back, but a test of a wicket keeper is when you stood up, and quite candidly, although I did do that at times, particularly when Brian Langford was bowling and when I kept wicket later on, I found it a challenge, and I just didn't really have it, not well enough to stay in that position.
When did you start getting involved with Somerset schools and the county ground setup?
I went to Hewish's. Yeah. I was lucky enough to get into Hewish's. And
where was that, for those people who don't know?
Sorry?
Where was Hewish's grammar school?
Hewish's is in Taunton. It was at the top of Eastreach.
Right.
And by the almshouses, Richie Hewish almshouses, the school's just behind.
Okay.
And we were a cricket school in that the school played games and inter-house matches, but that was it. There was nothing else much. And I did okay opening the batting. I think I learned more from watching good players down at the county ground than any formal coaching at that stage. And I was I practice a lot in my porch, hitting the ball against a step. And if I hit the brickwork on the side, it was a wicket. If I hit the red bit that Mum had polished, that was a run. And I've recorded test matches and all sorts of things. But I think unknowingly it was getting me to play straight.
Yeah. And that's the key to it all, really, isn't it?
And that's the key to batting. The key to batting is playing the right shot to every ball, moving your feet, because when you move your feet, your head moves and you're in line with the ball. And it's very simple, really. But we make it very complicated at times.
Certainly do. When did you score your first ton? Can you remember that?
I do. It was an inter-house game. It was Blackdown, which was my house, playing Brendan, who weren't very good. And I can't remember it, I think it was Graham Spiller, who you probably know, opened the batting, and we got quite a good score in 75 minutes. And I managed to get 100. And then we bowled them out for about 20 or something. So it was quite good.
And how did you get first involved with the county setup?
The under-15s, I mean, it was done on a recommendation by the cricket masters at the different schools, and it was mainly the grammar schools.
Right, yeah.
And the school fixtures were always against other grammar schools. So I suppose by nature it was going to work that way, although one or two from Priory School did come in Priory Secondary. And it was a matter of luck, quite honestly, because I think each school put forward names and they selected a team from that. And I was lucky I got selected for that. Then I did quite well, and I got a 64, I think it was, against Hampshire. And it was the highest score of our games for that season. And you were presented with a cricket bat by one of the county members, or one of the county players, I should say. And it was Peter White who presented me with mine. And he presented me with the bat, and Bill Andrews, who was the coach, asked me if I'd like to go down to the winter nets with them. And that's really how it began.
And you obviously then had quite a bit to do with Bill Andrews.
Oh, Bill, well, yeah, when you joined the club, you had a £25 kit voucher or something, and Bill, of course, had sports kit shop. So Bill said, I'll have that, and then you can have the bag, and you had the bag. I mean, in fairness, I think it was good value, but he got the business.
Yeah. And Bill had a long association with the club, didn't he?
He did,
and
indeed.
I'm guessing you were involved with him for quite a few years.
I was indeed. And he used to write articles in the, one of the, I forget the name,
the
Pinken.
The
I think it was the Pinken.
It was, yeah.
And he wrote a lot about the young lads on the staff, and it was quite interesting to watch. And sometimes he'd run you down a little bit, sometimes he'd praise you, so it was kept your feet on the ground.
Good stuff to go back and read up, though, isn't it?
Oh, well, I've got it in the scrapbook there.
Yes, indeed. Yeah. But let's think about when you started playing second 11 cricket. You finished at Hewish's. What age were you when you?
I was just coming towards 16. I left in the July, and I was 16 in the August.
Yeah.
And I went straight to the ground staff. My mother was very disappointed because she wanted me to be a policeman. But my dad, because he liked his cricket, and I was sort of on the radar, I suppose, went that route.
And what was it like to actually go to the cricket club and join the staff when you're sort of 16?
Well, you're in awe of some of the players, of course.
Who was there? Who was the people at the top of the tree then?
Well, Harold, Morris Tremlett, Colin McCool. There were so many. I always looked up to Gimlet and people like that, but of course they'd gone. But Peter White, of course, was a wonderful player. And it's amazing that Peter presented me with the bat, and about 2 years or 3 years afterwards, I'm travelling around in his car.
Really? Yeah.
Amazing.
And of course, you changed in a very different pavilion to the one that they use now.
Oh, very much. Yeah, I've never been inside the current one. Apparently, it's very splendid. But we changed in the dungeon, which was the first team changed. They had their own dressing room. We were at the back in the end, and we had to knock on the door to go in. And actually, I quite like that. I think that's quite a good thing for discipline and for sort of a target to go for
And
for
you
young
grew,
players.
and you grew to be that one of those people, didn't you?
I did. I had my own little corner in the end. I had McCool's corner after he'd finished.
But I mean, the nets in those days were in the old car park down there, weren't they?
They were very good nets too. And actually they were very good because you could play on them while the game was going on. So it was a facility that was, sadly it's now a car park. And
Well, can you remember your first team game?
yes, I can. Well, my first team game, I played against Combined Services and got a pair. But fortunately, that wasn't first class. But the first county game was in '57 against Worcestershire.
Yeah.
And I was batting about 7, something like 6, 7, 8, I don't know, somewhere down the order. And it was a good Taunton wicket. And Bob Berry, a left-arm spinner, was playing for them, who'd played for England as well. And all the players were saying, whatever you do, don't play back, go forward. So I go in and he's on, so I go forward. And then he bowls me this ball, which I thought was going to be short because it was off the arm ball.
Yeah.
Of course, I go back in front of all 3, gone. What did we tell you? You know, second innings, remember Rowley Jenkins?
Yes.
Bowled in a cap, little leg break.
Yeah.
Decent bowler, played for England. And I got 15 not out or something, which I was quite pleased about. That was my first game, and I think it was a draw, I can't remember.
Second game,
Oof.
you played against Yorkshire away at
Did I?
Sheffield.
Oh, that was...
Truman,
that was,
Wardle.
Oh, that was unbelievable. Yeah, I mean, the first team used to do a northern tour, which was Derbyshire, Lancashire and Yorkshire. Tough tour, because they all had good fast bowlers. Tough tour for the batsmen. So, invariably, somewhere along that line, somewhere during that tour, somebody got a phone call to say they need another batsman.
Yeah.
And I was the one who got the call.
Yeah.
And I was 17 going towards 18. And I went up on the train, carried my own kit, changed trains, eventually got to Sheffield, which is where we were playing, but they were staying in a hotel out in the sticks in Derbyshire.
Right.
And I had to catch a train out to there, walk across 2 fields with my kit and go into the hotel. I mean, with the modern players do this? So I got there and they said, oh, you've got here, Roy. Grindleford was the name of the village.
Right.
And actually, I've been back to it
Have you?
about 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Anne and I went on a holiday up that area.
Yeah.
And I made a point of going to the Maynard Arms at Grindleford,
Brilliant.
which was nice.
But what was it like facing, I mean, as a youngster to be facing Fred Truman?
Well, Fred, when he bowled the first one, it was gone. I was still playing forward defensive and Jimmy Binks was throwing it back. And I didn't get any runs. And do you remember left arm, Johnny Wardle was playing, and this was the game when there was a bit of a bus stop at Yorkshire.
Yes.
And several players left.
Yeah.
And he because of his attitude or something, he'd been selected for the tour, but then was dropped off the tour. And he was bowling, I remember, and I hit the ball and ran and hit it to cover, and it was Ken Taylor, who's one of the best cover fielders in the country.
Yeah.
Nowhere near, and he throws the ball like a bullet to Wardle, who I'm running towards, and he dropped it. So I got in.
Yeah.
And next over, he does me. And I'm 100% sure he dropped it deliberately. He thought, no, there's a wicket here for me. And he got it. But there we are. But Fred, it was, I wouldn't say I was frightened, but he was quick.
There were some quick bowlers about that. I mean, Brian Statham was quick, wasn't he?
He wasn't as quick as Fred. Well, but he was a different type of bowler than Fred. I mean, if Brian Statham bowled me one bounce from all the times I played against him, that would be it. And Fred knew his batsman, and I wasn't a good hooker. I know, it wasn't in my capability to hook safely fast bowlers, so I just ducked. And he would let me have one every now and again, just to let me know he's down that end.
Yeah.
But he knew I wouldn't. But if you tried to hook and got into trouble, you were gone. But Brian Statham wasn't, but he bowled so accurately, and he just nipped it around off the seam. A bit like Pedler, but a bit quicker.
Yeah. A bit taller though, wasn't he?
And he was a tall man.
Yeah.
Good, great bowlers.
Yeah.
But I mean, Les Jackson, good
Derby.
bowler, he was at Derby.
Yeah.
He used to hit the inside of your leg more times than anyone.
Yeah.
I remember years later, Wes Hall, we were playing at Taunton, and he comes in, steaming in from the pavilion end, as it was then, and swung away and nipped back and caught me right on the stretch. And you know, when your tendon goes like that, and when you first start, they say, you mustn't show the bowler that he's hurt. So I'm sort of forward defensive, still in the pose. This is going like this, and I'm thinking, oh, I mustn't show him. And he finishes up just about where the camera is there, with this chain swinging and his hands on his hip and his knees and looking at me. And from me to you, and I'm looking at him and I'm trying to show I'm not hurting. And suddenly this big grin and the white teeth come, he says, rub it, man, I knows it hurts. Wonderful.
Yeah, great characters.
Oh, but we're characters.
Absolutely, they were characters.
Yeah.
And then you obviously worked your way up and became a regular first teamer and had a great opening partnership with Aki, didn't you?
Graham Atkinson, he was a fine player. And I always rated him. I'd always said to him, you're better than I am. He said, well, no, he said, you had a bit more flair than I had. But he was a super, he was the best captain Somerset never had, you know.
Mm.
He would have been a very good captain. Mm. And he left purely, it was so silly, really. I don't want to talk badly of anyone, really, but Colin Atkinson, who was captain at the time, was of the opinion he didn't try too much in the field, which was not true, because if I had to run 50 yards after a ball, and with Graham, he would beat me to it. Mm. But because I had short legs, I looked as though I was going faster. But the reason, he said, they offered him a 1 year instead of a 2 year. They'd offered us all 2 years. They offered him 1 year. And he was a great man of principle, Graham. Strong man of principle. And he just wouldn't have it. It was a tragedy. He was a super player.
Yeah.
Well, you can look at the runs
look at his
scored.
numbers. Absolutely right. Absolutely. But what about you were there, obviously, when Bill Alley arrived at the club?
Well, Bill, I got on very well with Bill, particularly at the end. And he was a wonderful cricketer.
Yeah.
But he was pretty forthright, shall we say. And if he thought you should get on with it quicker, he'd tell you. Yeah. And I remember an occasion here once, and I batted till lunch, and I hadn't got very many, I don't know. And he obviously felt I should have got on quicker. And he said something at lunchtime, I can't remember what it was now. And trivial really, but it got to me a bit. So I go out and throw it away straight away. And as we're passing, he was next in. I said, go on, you do better. Of course, that upset him. He got out straight away. So I didn't really do the side much good. But Bill always respected me for standing up to him, always, and particularly in later years. Yeah. He was very much a good friend of mine. Yeah, he was a good friend of lots of people. Yeah. And obviously stayed living down there. And yeah, well, I used to go and visit him every time I came to Taunton in the summer, in the winter and summer. I used to come and see him when he was really getting towards the end.
Yeah. And then, obviously, early 60s, we had the start of the one-day cricket, didn't we?
That's right.
Before then, it was all championship cricket,
it was
tourist cricket.
Benefit games on Sunday.
But then one-day cricket came in. I suppose 63, the Gillette Cup was the first one-day competition.
It was.
What was that like to sort of go from playing championship cricket into...
It was very strange. The first one, we went, I think we played Glamorgan away in Cardiff. And it was a bit like a benefit match, almost. I can't remember the scores. I think Glamorgan got a massive score because we didn't approach it very well, and we got bowled out quite quickly chasing a big score. But it was a bit of an eye-opener because you'd never thought about how many runs and over you were scoring.
Oh, right.
You just sort of played the ball as it came, so to speak. But I added excitement and interest, I think, and I think it's led to what we see these days.
But it brought the people in the ground, didn't it?
It did. It did.
And people in Somerset have always seemed to like their one-day cricket.
They do like their one-day cricket, yeah. I can understand that.
Yeah.
I can understand that.
And I suppose we've got to talk about the first time we ever got to Lord's, 1967.
Oh, yes. Yes. Oh, dear.
Heartbreak.
That was an opportunity missed.
Yeah.
That was, because although the scores were much lower in those days, I mean, they get ridiculous scores these days. But, I mean, I think we kept them to about 180, didn't we?
Mm.
And we were doing all right at tea. And then I got a bit bogged down after tea and slogged one up in the air and set the rot in, unfortunately. But my excuse was they were repairing the tavern side, and the boundary was very short, and it's very difficult if you hit the ball hard, really hard.
Yeah.
It went so quickly we weren't even getting a single, and I thought batting quite well, but not getting any runs. And poor old Peter was doing it at the other end, Robbo, and he was doing his bit, but there we are.
I mean, what was it like, though, for you guys? That must have been the sort of, like an international match for you guys to go out and in a ground full of people.
In front of a crowd like that, it was fantastic. I mean, it lifts you. It definitely lifts you, because if you play a good shot and you get massive applause, you just feel good. I mean, you know, it's just one of those things. And I remember the semi-final once. We played several semi-finals against Lancashire, one at Taunton in particular, and Sid Buller was the umpire. And I remember him putting the bells on, and I looked around and I said, "We're pretty full today." He said, "Yes." And it was a beautiful day. We lost, but there we are.
But, I mean, that certainly brought the crowds in, didn't it?
Oh, it was packed. It was absolutely jam-packed. And it did revive cricket to a degree.
Mm. And, of course, in those days, there was no, dare I say, health and safety to regulate the numbers who came in.
It was just as many as you could get in came in.
Yeah. And, of course, a couple of years later, we had the 40-over game come in, John Player League.
Yeah, that came in. Well, that caused a bit of a problem with us, because in the initial stages, the club didn't want to give us any extra money.
Okay.
And I was senior professional, and as such, I had to take forward the players' wishes to the committee, or to the secretary of the committee. And about 7 of us stood out and said we should get a share of the extra money that the club was getting. And they didn't really want to move on that. And it caused a bit of a problem, and I think I was labelled a little bit as a troublemaker because I was the one who was the mouthpiece. Mm. But I really wasn't a troublemaker, and I think that stuck a little bit. But in the end, we got to an agreement, and we did get some extra, which was quite right.
But I mean, we had some pretty exciting games around the county, didn't we?
We had some fantastic games.
I remember watching at Brislington when Greg Chappell got the first ton.
Oh, I remember I was batting the other end,
yeah.
And he played magnificently that day, and I was just giving him the strike. I mean, you know, in that situation, he was playing so well, and I remember Peter Walker was doing it for BBC Television, I think, at the time.
Yeah.
And he said, "Well, what's it like to be the bridesmaid or something?" I was a bit miffed with that, really. I thought I'd done quite well giving him the strike.
But he was something special, wasn't he?
He was.
Even in those days, he was going to go on.
Very talented player.
Yeah.
Very talented. Well, his test record shows that.
Yeah. And what about that 8 overs, 8 maidens game at Yeovil, Roy?
You
were
kept
keeping wicket, weren't you?
I kept wicket in that.
Yeah, tell us about that game.
And well, Brian Langford bowled, I think, every ball except one to, I forget the name of the guy now, opening batter.
Not Brian Hardy.
No, it was.
What's his name?
I forget the name. Anyway, he just tried. It turned. It was a wicket that was turning, and Langy spun the ball, and I was probably taking 4 down the leg side, which these days would probably be given as wides. And Keith Boyce was the other end.
Yeah.
And you could see the steam coming out his ears. This bloke was just going, and it was boom, every ball. Boyce got down one ball. The first thing he did was sweep, and it went off his leg by up over my head. I thought he hit it, actually.
Did you? Yeah,
I thought he did it, and I went running and trying to take the catch, but it was giving his leg by. So, that was remarkable. Never be beaten. I mean, nobody could do that now.
It's incredible, isn't it?
Yeah, well, it was pretty poor play from the batter, really.
But the wickets in those days weren't probably as good as they are now.
No, well, we played on were uncovered wickets still? No, they weren't been uncovered for Sunday League. I don't think. I can't really remember. But I remember one season we won the first 5, and I think we went to Cardiff, 6th game, and we bowled first, and we bowled them out for 120, which was well within our compass. And it rained. We never bowled another ball. Do you know what? We never won another game. It was incredible.
Yeah.
They just seemed to knock the stuffing right out of us.
We weren't very good at that to begin with, were we?
No, we were terrible because we treated it as fun day cricket, not Sunday cricket.
Yeah, yeah.
So we didn't take it too seriously, but
and
we did later on.
And then you had your big season, didn't you?
Yes,
1970.
1970.
And what do you think changed all of that? Because you had a reputation of being a very straight...
I was.
Very traditional, straight batsman, and all of a sudden you...
Well, I think what started it off was, I didn't really particularly start the season like that, actually, 2 or 3 games. And then we played a Sunday League game at Peterborough.
Right.
And I got 70 odd not out of about 130 or something. And I played shots. And from then on, it just seemed to go. And it's a strange feeling. It's confidence. Mm. You're going out expecting to score runs, and you've got the shots, but you sort of, I don't know. I just didn't. It wasn't that I didn't worry about getting out. I did, but it was less important somehow than just going and playing. Yeah. And then you get into a stage of mind, or state of mind, that you just go out expecting to score runs. And when I didn't, it felt very strange. I remember I got 150, I think it was, at Taunton against Warwickshire on the Saturday. Mm. We went to Johnson Park on the Sunday, and David Brown stuffed me first over. And I'm walking back, and I thought, this isn't right. There's something wrong here, because I'd gotten off.
Yeah.
And it was that's the confidence I had.
7 centuries that summer.
Yeah.
Over 2,000 runs, 2,200, 300. I mean, that's the most anybody has ever scored for Somerset, an English-born player.
Is it?
Yeah.
Is it?
The others who've scored more have not been English-born, so you hold that record, Roy.
Well, I'll tell you a funny story. That winter, when we were talking off camera earlier, I was saying about the Friday evenings when Don and Beryl Taylor used to come up. That winter, we played on a Ouija board one night.
Okay. And
one of the questions was, how many runs is Roy going to get next season?
Right.
And this thing went to 2,200 something.
Really?
I mean, uncanny.
It is uncanny.
And that's a fact. I couldn't. We just laughed because it was unheard of. 2,200 for me. So I did about 1,700, the best I'd had.
Incredible. Then the following season, you got
invited
to be 12th man.
Yeah. Well, there's a story there.
Come on.
Fred Rumsey recently rang me up when it was my birthday last week, 85, and he was saying you were badly treated by England because you were called up and then you were never seen again. Well, what actually happened was, I said, well, it isn't quite true, to be fair to England. The eve of the test match, any new boy, which I was, even though I was 32, I was the new boy in the group, sits between the chairman, the selectors and the captain at the dinner, pre-test match eve dinner. So I sat there, and Alec Betts was on my right, and Illy on my left, Ray Illingworth on my left. And Alec Betts said to me, well, whatever happens, Roy, if you play or not tomorrow, you're definitely on the tour to India in the winter. I thought, oh, that's nice. Then he said, if it happens. I didn't know what the hell he meant. Anyway, what happened? Pakistan and India had this flare-up about Kashmir, and it didn't take place.
No.
So I was quite close. And I would just like to have had the opportunity just to see if I was good enough. It's easy to say you're good enough or not good enough or whatever, but until you do it, you don't know.
No.
Because of the pressure and all that sort of thing.
Yeah. And you were 32 then, and then a couple of years later, you left Somerset and came and landed here at Northampton, where you had another good run of form.
I did.
You had a big season here, didn't you?
I had a big season here. I got 700s here in 74. And we played the last match of the season at Lord's, and I wanted 60 odd for 2000. And we bowled them out by about tea time, and I was, or after tea, because somebody got runs at the towel for them. And I was about 20 odd not out overnight, and we never bowled another ball. Amazing, isn't it?
It is amazing.
Whether I'd have got them or not, who knows?
No, you don't know, do you?
But I had 2 innings to get 60.
Yeah.
Anyway, there we are.
Yeah. I mean, look back over your career. I mean, you've had a long and successful career in cricket, and you're still part and parcel of it here.
Yep.
I mean, just pick out 1 or 2 things that sort of are lasting memories that you know, if somebody said to you, talk through a couple of things, Roy, that are really special moments for you during your life's career in cricket.
I find that very hard. There were so many good times. I mean, the year, I can't remember the actual year, but there was one year we had 14 players we played with through the season. We were lucky with injuries, of course. And I got a feeling we came 2nd or 3rd in the championship. And I think 4 of the bowlers got 100 wickets.
Yeah.
And no team scored 300, and no batsman scored 100.
Really?
You can check it out. I can't remember what year it was.
Yeah.
It was Kenny, Bill, Fred, and Langy got 100, and I think Robbo got 60.
Did he? Yeah.
So you can tell how well we did with the ball.
Absolutely.
And it was a great season, that was. And I mean, going to Lord's for the final, of course, and I did it here. Unfortunately, we won here, so I've got a full set of medals, which I'll pass on to the boys when I go.
Yeah.
And I just loved every game, really. I mean, the high point was the 2000, obviously. I mean, I never expected to score that sort of runs.
And obviously, I know you finished your career here, but Somerset is where your large part of your career is. The people down there have got something special about them, haven't they? The fans and the warmth of people. I mean,
they have. Well, I remember when we first started, Somerset as a team were always made very welcome. Everybody liked to see Somerset. I'm reluctant to say they're not quite the same today. There don't seem to quite the same feeling. And I've seen 1 or 2 reports which don't all go too well on some of the, I would say, supporters, but they're not really supporters. But the genuine, honest supporters are wonderful people. They're just nice, friendly people, as they are here. I mean, they're lovely people.
Yeah. And Taunton people, Somerset Cricket Club is the main sport, isn't it?
Well, I mean, here you've got the football and certainly the rugby, which is a higher priority. Yeah. But no, I mean, Somerset County Cricket Club is the sport in Taunton, really. And you get all that Devon boys and Cornwall boys coming up. Yeah. So you've got a hell of a side, really.
And what about now? If you were playing now, how would you think? What would you be? How would you feel about playing T20 cricket like that?
I'd love it. I'd love it. I think I would have probably grown with it. I think I probably had the ability to grow with it. It's a mindset, isn't it?
It is, yeah. Brilliant, Roy.
Okay.
Thank you very much indeed for talking to us today. We've really
More than
appreciated
welcome.
your time.
Very nice
Thank
to see
you.
you again, Richard,
Thanks,
after
Roy.
all these years.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.